what happened with the WNBA?
Basically, the season when I was having the best, like, stat-wise season of my life, I got injured. That's actually what I was rapping about in part of the song. 5 games into conference play, chick took my legs out from under when I was going for a rebound and fractured and dislocated my ankle. That basically ended my season. I had already graduated, so I was just in grad school, but I could have left and went to the WNBA after that season. Still didn't make no excuses though. After that, I came back for my last year, finished my master's, and still I didn't have as strong as a season as I had before I got hurt, but I still ended up going overseas to play professionally. And I actually I've turned down like 4 or 5 deals this summer alone overseas because I have a corporate job and then I'm deciding to pursue music full time. So before it was just a hobby when basketball was life. But when I see how much money I was making in corporate and what I could be doing with music versus going back overseas and playing for, I feel like, less than I deserve, I felt like, I just start focusing on the music more because I've done everything I've ever wanted to do as far as on every level with basketball.
So you could have went to the WNBA after your 4 years in college?
Mm-hmm.
And how powerful in the WNBA do you think you could have been?
Honestly, I know I could play in the league right now. Just because a lot of the players I see that I've competed against in high school, competed against in college, and it's not a knock to any of them, but I know I could have been a very, very effective point guard just from my style of play because I'm a big physical guard and I like to defend. So I feel like in the league, most of the defensive guards, like they separate themselves, and I'm a pretty well-rounded player. So I think I would have had a good WNBA career.
Why couldn't you go to the WNBA even after you were done with the grad school degree? Like, why go to the overseas option?
Well, I went to WNBA Combine, and I was playing in front of all the WNBA coaches, and I actually got a lot of good feedback. A lot of different agents were interested in me, but I didn't get invited into any of the training camps. So basically, like I said, not to make excuses or anything like that, but the WNBA is very political. So you usually have, unless you're one of these females that's 6'5" or above, because that's very rare for females, you have kind of like a limited time slot. So, if you don't get in while it's hot, then you might have to, go overseas and just grind it out and really put up some crazy numbers and then come back and show out in a camp and then get picked up. So, it wasn't, like they draft maybe 30, 33 girls a year. And most of those are already pre-selected from some of the top teams. So, and especially being a guard, guards come a dime a dozen. So, as far as competitively, I still play with, male and female professionals in NBA and the WNBA. So I knew I would be effective. Like I still train to this day. I'm still in top shape. I just decided 3 weeks ago that I wasn't going to go back overseas just because it was getting late in the season and the deals that I was getting still weren't in the places I wanted to be and not for the money that I felt like, I deserved. So I'm definitely at peace with it. I played pro. I loved it. I played in Qatar. I traveled all over the world. It was great. But I don't want to be one of those people that just keep going back, and it's just to say I'm still playing pro when I could be doing more and making more and taking better care of my loved ones in the States.
So, could you have been drafted? Could you have been drafted after the 4 years before the grad school
Correct.
option?
Well, actually, it only took me, I finished my undergrad in 2 years and 10 months.
Oh.
So, and I was at the University of Alabama. I'm from Birmingham. And then after that, when my head coach who recruited, assistant head coach who recruited me, then he transferred to Auburn, which is like our direct enemy. So I couldn't go down there with him. I always wanted to see what life would be like on the East Coast. So, and I also knew I was never, basketball was always important to me, but I was always, situated with the grades and school, and I always knew I had to have a backup plan. So I wanted to go somewhere and get my master's where it was going to hold mad weight. And I looked up LaSalle University. They had one of the top NBA programs in the country. So that's how I ended up going up there. And it was my first year in that league, in the Atlantic 10 League, that I was just having crazy numbers and having the best season. And I had already graduated, so technically after that season, I could have left and went to the league. And that was when I got hurt. So. That was my fourth year in college, but that was my my first year of grad school.
So looking back at the moves and decisions you made, what could you have changed, if any? Or do you wish you would have changed if you could turn back the hands of time? Like maybe somebody watching this is in a similar position themselves. So
I would say, even though I feel like, I've accomplished a lot, and, it's true that only 1% of college athletes get to move on to play at the professional level in any sport. So I still have a strong sense of feeling like I could have done more, and it's so much uncharted territory that I could have hit. Like I should have took advantage of every single practice I had. Every game I should have just went all the way out. And I was always a super hard player. Left it up. I mean, I played as hard as anybody on the floor at all times, but it's just little things like, I'll say probably not until I transferred, like after my second year of college, that's when I really started just getting in the gym on my own all the time. Before then, it was just, going to practice, maybe do a little bit of extra stuff after practice, but I wasn't just getting a trainer in the summer, grinding all summer, even during the season, after practice, before practice, getting up early, doing the extra stuff. So just feeling like, even though I played in two of the top conferences and for great teams, I just feel like I could have left even a bigger impact than what I did leave. So just not coming every single day. Like, you can't take anything for granted because you never know. They thought I wasn't going to play again after I broke after my fall, because, I fell. The way I fell, it was kind of like the Kevin Ware injury. Like, my ankle was facing an entirely different direction, and they didn't think I was going to be able to play. So just by me coming back next season and still being an impactful player was something, and still going pro after that. But I always could have done more. So, and I think I let my ego get in the way a little bit too when I was in college. So, the earlier you humble yourself, the greater you'll be. It doesn't matter what sport you're doing or what you're trying to pursue.
So when you said before the grad school you could have been in the WNBA, do you mean you could have been drafted, or you could have walked on to a training camp to participate?
Both. Because my fourth year of college, that's when basically after you graduate you can go. You don't have to stay and get your master's
Right.
degree. So the season where my first year of grad school, I was already one of the pre-selects for that the WNBA scouts were looking at. So it was just that I got injured so early into conference play, I wasn't even able to collect any of my accolades. I was leading the conference in points per game, minutes per game, steals per game, lead number 3 in the country in steals per game, pre-selected the defensive player of the year, first team, all conference. So it was just, before I got hurt, we were pre-selected to be in the tournament. And LaSalle's women's basketball team hadn't been in the tournament in I don't know how many years. So it was just, I had 3 months left of school, basically. And I could have left after that just because off of the season I was having.
So hindsight 2020, do you wish you would have tried to go for the WNBA before the grad school year?
No, because I know I always wanted to get my master's while I was a master's for free, basically. And when I was at Bama, my first 3 years, they were strong, but I didn't feel like I just dominated enough to just, be getting a lot of different invites to camps and to just really be in high demand. I wanted to make sure, while I still had college eligibility, that I used all of it to my full advantage. Because with females, we don't have it sweet like the guys do. You can go out and just show out for 1 year and then you getting paid, so you really gotta, the median salary in the WNBA is what, 50, 60 grand? So you really make your money when you go overseas. So I was in no rush to try to go to the WNBA early. Of course, I didn't expect to get hurt either. So.
I get it. So it was like a combination of things.
Correct. Because basically, to be honest, if it wasn't for the season I was having, I probably would have. It's hard to say because I'm big on fallback plans, and I really did want to get my master's. But with the season I was having, if I would have had the WNBA scouts continuously after me, and after the season, it would have been a game time decision. Because if I would have got an offer to go to the draft, I definitely would have left early and then just came back and finished my master's. So I guess it's one of those things. Everything happens for a reason, but it's kind of just.
What's the median salary someone can make overseas?
Now that can stretch from anywhere from, I know players who started off making $800 a month their first year, and then they had a good average and went to making $10,000 a month. So I mean, I know, and I also know people who are getting M's overseas, females. So it really just depends. Overseas, you can be, just a good scorer, but not from a big school, and they start you off with almost nothing. $700, $800, $1,000 a month, and all it takes is one good season for a bigger team with a bigger budget to buy you out, and everything is month to month, and it's tax free. So, and not including the bonuses that you get if you're on a good team and you're winning, and so I mean, you can get anywhere from, like I said, from 1,000 to tens of thousands monthly, and everything is month to month because it's cutthroat over there. So they usually only allow 2 Americans per team. So if you get injured or if you're not performing, like they're gonna send you home. So it's real. So
in the WNBA, you said the median salary was $50-$60 for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Not okay.
Just period.
Okay.
But when you think about how much the male players get paid, it's almost like, dang, it's like a slap in the face. Like they getting paid the same thing as teachers and police officers. But the WNBA season is only 4 months. So if you think about $50K for 4 months, that's not really bad. But the way that the WNBA players make their money is when they go overseas, they get paid quadruple. So I know a chick that was she started off making like 55 in the league, but when she went overseas, she was making $8,000 a month. And like I said, that's not including bonuses. You're not paying anything. They give you food. They give you a car. The only thing you're really paying is your bills back home, and everything is tax free. So, I know a chick she's an OG in the league. She's been in the league about 6 years, but she makes $60,000 a month overseas. So, that's the way to run a checkup, really. All the WNBA players who are millionaires is because they go overseas and get paid the real guap, in the off season.
But in your current situation, it wasn't worth it to go back overseas for you?
No, I didn't feel like it because, like I said, I had just, if I was fresh out of with the offers that I've been getting, like for example, this over the summer, I was talking to my agent and we going back and forth, and he's telling me, just take one of these offers, go and do your thing, and 6 months down the line we'll have a contract of triple that. And while that's appealing, I'm not the same kid I was when I was fresh out of college. I've only been out of school for 2 years, but still I have responsibilities to take care of, and I did finish my master's degree, so I'm blessed to be in a position where I have a great corporate job, and I'm also talented in other areas. I didn't start taking music seriously until I decided I wasn't going to go back overseas. I dropped a freestyle last year just as a joke, as a remix on the Kodak No Flocking, and people just went crazy, and I started getting all these people hitting me up about doing features and shows. So something that I thought was just a joke, I was like, maybe I should actually take this seriously because, I just didn't feel like it was worth it to go back overseas, especially with the state that we're in right now politically, with who's running the country. I want to be as close to my family as I can, and if I'm going over there, it's going to have to be for something that's worth it, and I'm not gonna settle for anything less than I deserve.
Mm. And obviously, it's Trump that you're talking about.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, the corporate job that you have, you described it as a very nice corporate job. You got that because of the master's degree.
Well, I would have got it even if I didn't have a master's degree.
Oh.
But the master's does help, and because of that, I'm not limited with my options. I've never walked into an interview anywhere where I felt like I couldn't get the job or I didn't get an offer for the job. I've been a full-time student athlete all my life up until the last 2 years, so I haven't interviewed that much, but every job I've ever interviewed for, I've gotten it. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just blessed because I'm multi-talented. I can do the basketball if I want to. I still could go overseas and just pursue that and grind it out and work my checkup and, follow that. I could just climb the corporate hierarchy and just work my way up, and I feel like any corporate organization that I step foot in. But that's just the type of person I am. I can adjust to different scenarios. I can have a conversation with anybody in any room. You know, I'm not intimidated by people despite their status or their monetary significance. So I think that's another thing that's another reason why I feel like, you know, the music thing is something I need to pursue, because we don't have a lot of that versatility in the rap game right now. Everybody sounds the same, or all the females have to have a certain image. So I mean, we don't really have anybody who's just versatile and able to, you know, captivate an audience from all angles. So, you know, business and entertainment-wise, I feel like this would be a better move for me.
What did you get a master's degree in?
I got my master's. I have an MBA, so a master's in business administration, and my concentration is marketing.
Is that a good master's degree to get, or is that a BS master's degree to get? You know, sometimes people will get a degree just to have one.
Yeah, for sure.
Or
now,
pick a one that's easy.
Yeah.
And get an easy breezy master's degree. And it might not be the correct degree for them, or they realize they go a whole different career path and it was kind of a waste.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. That's actually what made me get my MBA, because I did extensive research before I even decided to pursue grad school. And one of the things that drew me to LaSalle was that they had one of the toughest MBA programs in the country, but also one of the best and most, you know, highly recognized MBA programs. And, you know, initially going into college, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. But as soon as I got there and I told the academic advisors that, they were like, not with the schedule that we have, you're not going to be able to do no medical stuff. You're going to have to pick something else. So my plan B was to be a ESPN broadcaster. But I also was into public relations, and I've always enjoyed marketing. So I got my undergrad degree in communication information science, which is basically something that's more broad, that covers marketing, PR, you know, mass communications, telecommunications, and then my minor in computer science. So I felt like with just my undergrad, that made me pretty marketable. But as far as an MBA, now I would say if I was just trying to get my MBA in communications, that would have been an easier route to go, you know, because I already had my undergrad, when I had to take too many crazy advanced classes. But I wanted to step outside the box and take something that was more challenging, but that I know, you know, ultimately it was going to hold much more weight. And I mean, even before I decided that I always knew I was going to go pro, even after I got injured. But before then, I mean, I had all type of, you know, Fortune 500 companies offering me jobs, from in financing to accounting to, you know, all types of stuff. Just because of, for one, where I went to school, and, you know, playing sports is something that holds a lot of weight too. But you know, it's all about knowing how to market that when you go into an interview. A lot of athletes don't even know how to use sports to their advantage when they go to get real jobs. That's why so many guys, after they get cut out of the league, or they don't have as long as a career as they think they do, they fall off and they end up doing something that, you know, people would kind of never expected to see them do, because they don't really know how to, you know, use those traits and those qualities that we learn while being on a team and playing sports to their advantage. But that's something that I've always been able to, you know, kind of relate to.
Can you explain how?
Yeah. So like, so one thing that in my first job, when I was actually still in grad school, but the season ended, and I knew I wanted to get some type of work experience before I graduated. And when I walked in, they were basically telling me, you know, you really don't have. This is not a sales job, but you have to be able to generate business. You don't have any sales experience. My only work experience was working at TJ Maxx for like 4 months, my senior year in high school. So they were like, how can we be confident that, for one, you can work in this team environment, and two, that you can be, you know, you can hold your own, because it was in a trucking and logistics company. So they were like, you know, it's a lot of aggressive personalities, a lot of mostly male dominated environment. So you're gonna have to have, you know, a strong backbone, be able to hold your own, and still be able to go out and get business, you know, in these tough environments. And I basically just related that back to, well, I mean, I've been in tough environments before. You know, being a point guard my whole life, I've always been the leader on the floor, on and off the court. You know, even aside from basketball, I've always been a natural born leader. But being put in situations where I had to make sure the whole team is up and ready for practice on time. If not, that's on me. So that's accountability. You know, so that was something I could speak to when it came to being punctual at work, or, being held to hit certain quotas. It's been times where we were down in games and everybody's morale is low, and even when I'm down, I got to be the one to pick everybody up. You can never let them see you sweat because I'm the leader. I'm the one that everybody goes to. And also the competitiveness. I'm not going to let the person next to me outwork me. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the position, how long you've, what you have over me, male or female, nobody's going to outwork me. And I basically told, at the end of that interview, I told him give me any scenario you can throw at me, and we can role play. And if I don't completely dominate it, then, I understand that my lack of experience, will make you want to question my readiness for this job. But every situation he threw at me, I was just able to adjust and give back, firm, confident answers. And I can kind of tell, especially because there was two males that were standing on the other side of the table, that they were kind of, impressed. And they basically hit me with at the end of the interview, you did pretty good, but we got some really strong candidates to consider. Still got about 4 or 5 more people to interview, so you'll know from us in the next 2 weeks. But of course, I barely had got out of the parking lot less than an hour later before they were calling me, offering me the job. So, and that was my first real job, and I was still in college, and it was with a Fortune 500 company. So, I'm just, and a lot comes from my parents as well. I was raised, blessed to be raised from a 2-parent household. My mom was always big on prayer and, keeping your eye on the prize. That's kind of who always kept me focused. My dad was street smart and book smart. He was a go-getter, never had a college degree, but he just grinded his whole life and, was always an entrepreneur. So that's kind of where I get my hustle from and my confidence and a little bit of my cockiness from, because my pops was kind of the one who put it in my mind, like, you Kristen motherfucking Lee. You don't take no shit from nobody. Anytime you go in a room, you look folks straight in the eye. You shake somebody's hand. You try to break it if you can. So those little values have just stuck with me, throughout my entire life. And my brother also. I'm very family oriented. My brother is my manager. Also my biggest fan, biggest critic. So from rapping to jobs to whatever, I got a really strong support system. So I keep myself lifted up, but I also got people who depend on me, which is another reason why I didn't want to go back overseas for just any BS deal that they were throwing at me.
Does that school equal to its reputation?
Alabama?
Well, that or LaSalle.
LaSalle.
LaSalle, however you put it.
Alabama definitely does. Alabama's the greatest school in the world. Roll Tide, I believe Crimson all day. LaSalle was cool. I actually didn't know too much about LaSalle before I went up there. I had heard about it because their men's team had just went to the Sweet 16 the year before, and academically, it's a private Catholic school, so it's a pretty tough school to get into. But I wasn't aware of, how big it was and how many people did know about LaSalle just because of their prestigious academic reputation. So I learned more about LaSalle when I was actually at the university. And I didn't really, before I got to Bama, I didn't understand how crazy the Alabama-Auburn feud was. But actually being there and just being a part of that and actually playing against them, it's a hatred that you really just can't explain. And then, the same thing with LaSalle, how they feel about St. Joe's, like all the teams in Philly. I was in North Philly, so it was a completely different culture shock for me. But I liked it. It was edgy. Everybody was rude. It was dirty. It was grimy. The weather was shitty. People were rude, but it just made me more well-rounded, and that's another notch that I got to put on my belt.
So did you do any rapping while you were in college at all?
None, not at all. I had my sophomore year at Bama, myself, my teammate Tootie, and a couple of our friends from the local trap. We made a little song called Rags to Riches in my teammate's closet. And it was, I still have it to this day. The song was hilarious, but I had I closed it out with a little 16, and everybody just spazzed out. Because even back then, I had bars. I just never told anybody I could rap. It was just something I just me and my brother were really the only ones that really knew about it, or my teammates who would hear me freestyling. But the first thing I really put out was the No Flocking freestyle, and that was last year. So,
was that degree easier or hard for you to accomplish?
At Bama, it was a little challenging, but it wasn't like I really didn't have to stress a lot because, like I said, school has never something that was really been hard to me because I've never been one to slack at anything, especially grades. Never wanted to be a dumb jock. Never thought it was cool to be one of the people who, don't got stupid dumb grades, but you're a great athlete, but everybody look at you like you the dumbass. You just another nigga basically, and that's how they look at us, especially when we don't take care of our business. So at Bama, it was challenging, but it wasn't hard. I never studied as much in my life as I did when I got to LaSalle. Like that, to get in my MBA was very challenging. And the biggest thing also is in grad school. I've always been a AB student, but in grad school, it's C's don't get degrees. So you got to have all A's and B's or you're failing. So it really would just, made me step my game up. And that was when I was also in the gym more than anything and really spending more time on my game. And that's why I was playing so much better when I was up there because I guess I didn't have those distractions as I did when I was at Bama, or I had a different mindset. But no, it definitely was not easy. Neither one of my degrees were easy, but LaSalle was hard. I see why they're ranked so high.
So overall, with the college experience, with the grad school experience, were you happy with the degree you chose and the major you chose?
Definitely. I definitely was. I wouldn't change either of my degrees because both of them taught me things. I learned more than anything when I was getting my master's because I do want to be an entrepreneur and have my own business, and I'm already getting involved in real estate. So just learning the back office operations of how to run a company between overhead and different financial methods that's some stuff that I can keep long term more than just writing papers or doing crazy problems that I'm never going to use in real life. So most of the stuff that I can apply to real life, that's the stuff that I feel like benefited me the most.
Making that decision to go to grad school and completing that and that whole scenario, was that self-motivated or was that your parents pushing you to do that?
Self-motivated for sure. My parents, I didn't even tell them that I was gonna, I came in my freshman year knowing that I was gonna graduate early and get my master's degree. But they just, whatever I did, they were always behind me. But, once you get to college, and especially with my parents, like they weren't really, in high school, they stayed on me until probably about my junior, senior year. But once I got to college, it was kind of like, you've done extremely well for yourself to this point, so we're just going to let you grow into the young woman that you're going to become. And it was basically all on me. So I'm just very self-motivated, very, I hold very high standards for myself. So I wasn't going to allow myself to be out here slacking. My first semester in college, I got a C and I went crazy. And I just realized I got to stop. I got to get myself together because it was something totally different. Even though, like I said, I've always been a student, school has always been easy to me. But when you're in college and I came in with the top recruiting class Alabama had ever had for the women's basketball team. Me, Tootie, who I spoke of earlier, my other teammate Kane, and that's still the clique too. Shout out to the ski team. We were all ranked in the top 100. And we had the other freshman, she wasn't ranked, but she was averaging 50 points a game in just a small school in Alabama. So we came in with a lot of hype, and we never stayed in dorms. We got the nice off-campus apartments as soon as we got there. So, you didn't have teachers telling you, hey, you got to turn in this assignment, you got to be on this, do on that. You had to kind of do it on your own. So I was just used to people telling me what to do and handling my business. So I kind of got a little behind, and when I got that C, that's what really woke me up because I didn't like that.
So somebody watching this, and let's say they're an athlete, men or women, right? Just they're an athlete in college, and they're doing the school thing too. Just general advice, anything you would tell somebody.
General advice? That's
an athlete in college and doing the school thing. Anything you would tell them? Circumstances could be different for everybody, but just any general advice to somebody.
General advice,
doing both.
Don't take anything for granted. Don't take anything. Don't take going to class for granted. Don't take your teammates for granted. Definitely don't take playing for granted, because those 4 years are going to fly by. Even if you redshirt, those 5 years are going to fly by. Even if you get redshirt and get injured, them 6 years are going to fly by. So, just make the most of every moment, of every memory. Network on a business level, network as much as you can in college, because networking really is the key to success, one of the big keys to success, especially if you're at a big school where, big school, small school, don't matter where you're at. Network and work your ass off, but just have fun and, realize that you're going to leave a legacy with anybody who you talk to, anybody who you come in contact with. They're going to remember something about you. So make sure you leaving the legacy that you want to leave, and you're not going to be 10 years later looking back like, damn, woulda, shoulda, coulda. You should be like, I look back at college, and there's some things I could have did, I would have done differently, but overall, I had the time of my life, and I feel like I did some pretty great things, but I still got a lot left to accomplish. So don't take it for granted, man, and pray. Keep God first.